Welcome to Tiny Show and Tell Us, the bonus series where you write in with your favorite science news or factoid, we read your email aloud, and then we dive deeper. I'm Sam Jones, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Aboki Chakravarti.
Hi, Sam. I'm excited. Last time, we got to talk about making colorful pennies and a mission to touch the sun. I'm so excited to see, even though I know what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, a reminder for all of you that if you have a story you'd like for us to cover on Tiny Show and Tell Us, all you have to do is write us an email. You can email us at tinymatters@acs.org or fill out the form linked in the episode description. And I think I'll start this time since last time you went. I have a message from listener Emily, and Emily writes, "Hello. This is a memory I have from my childhood. I was in grade 5 in the 90s and I was obsessed with animals. Animal Planet was my favorite channel. I attended a summer camp at a zoo and my dream was to become a vet." I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I had just learned that polar bears have black skin despite their white fur to absorb heat from the sun. My school teacher was asking the class if we knew a cool fact and I raised my hand all excited and reiterated what I had learned. But this teacher then put me down in front of the whole class, saying that polar bears can't possibly have black skin.
Not cool.
I know, so rude. This memory felt like a fever dream until years later I heard the same fact and felt the relief of vindication and the frustration of how a teacher put down a girl learning about STEM. The main lesson here is to never tamper a child's wonder with our world and that polar bears really do have dark skin.
I love that, Emily. And I will say, I had specifically science teacher who put me down when I think I was in 6th grade. No, wait, I take it back. 8th grade. I don't take back that she was awful. She was awful. First off, she did not understand science. Not great. And she was talking about, I think we were just talking about different phases of matter. And we were talking about like evaporation.
Yeah.
And I remember saying like, but what is it that happens when you hit boiling point and you start to get evaporation? And she was like, well, the little molecules on the bottom of the plate or whatever are like, oh, it's so hot. My toes are so hot. And I obviously I was like 14, was like, this is so silly. What is happening right now? And so I just said like, no, but like what happens? And the guy who was sitting next to me was like, also, yeah, no, what happened? And she called us the stupid table for not understanding it. For not understanding why the toesies on the molecule. Anyways.
No, I'm so mad for you. I'm mad for you. I'm mad for Emily.
My father was a middle school science teacher. I think he was floored. Yeah. I think he was floored because he was actually a good teacher.
Right.
So Emily, I feel your frustration at this. And I would love to tell this teacher, whose name I will not repeat right now, hey, guess what? I got a PhD and I can tell you for sure that little bubbles do not have toesies, and that is why.
I support your grudge. I support Emily's grudge.
I love a good grudge.
Yeah.
I love it. I love a good grudge, and I love the vindication. So please, let's hear this.
But I was going to say before that, write in with your stories of your science teachers. Also tell us about your favorite science teachers. We should highlight more science teachers that have been amazing. As much as I also love to support a grudge. Okay, so I looked this up to fact check again. Not because I doubt you, Emily, but just like, it's good. You know, we got to make sure. So yes, polar bears have black skin. I couldn't find as much about like how that helps them stay warm. Like I think the theory of it makes sense, but I just couldn't find like a good confirmation of it. So I'm just going to leave that out there. If people have a good sense of like experiments that people have done to show this exact mechanism, I would love to know it. But I will say this still did lead me down some very cool rabbit holes. First of all, how do we know that polar bears have black skin for sure? Like who's going up to the polar bears, right?
Not me.
Yeah. So I don't know the origin still, but this question did lead me to Reddit, and I found some threads that claim to have pictures of hairless polar bears. You can Google it. It's terrifying. I couldn't get a confirmation though if those images are what they say they are. Like I wasn't clear on the exact sourcing of them. But it did lead me to actual real science, which is the fact that polar bears can get alopecia. And so this is where I was able to finally see glimpses of polar bear skin. So in 2014, researchers published work that they'd done in the Journal of Wildlife Diseases on the health of around 1,500 polar bears temporarily captured between 1998 through 2012 in Alaska. And they found that around 3% of the bears were losing fur around the head and neck, though the percentage varied from year to year. I think the highest that they found was in 2012. There were 28% of the bears had alopecia. Some of the bears they found with alopecia were caught multiple times over that period. These bears were also thinner. So it could be that maybe the alopecia or like the loss of fur was impacting their health, or there was something else impacting their health that was driving the loss of fur. That wasn't really clear to the scientists. The cause of the alopecia was unknown. But I just thought that was really interesting because for me, that was like the real, like, okay, I have found the thing that shows black skin on the polar bear. And then while I was at it, I also found a cool study from this year about polar bear fur, where basically scientists wanted to understand, why does ice not stick to this fur? And a detail that I really liked from this work is one of the authors told a journalist she was inspired by realizing she'd never seen polar bears in wildlife documentaries that were covered in ice, like even when they emerged from the water.
They look amazing.
Yeah, spectacular.
Perfect.
Not a speck of ice on them.
Great hair days every day.
Yeah, and it turns out it's because they have like a natural oil on them that is hard for ice to stick to. So to do this, scientists looked at washed and unwashed polar bear fur. They also looked at human hair and hair-based ski equipment coated in fluorocarbons, and basically looked at how much force was needed to get ice off of those materials. One of the scientists actually used his own hair for this study, and he basically had to get it super greasy over the course of a week and then shave it off. He said he did this in January, and so that kind of sucked. They found that ice does not stick as well to unwashed polar bear hair compared to oily human hair. And that is probably because of the oils in the polar bear fur. Another great quote from a scientist who talked to the Washington Post about polar bears, but who wasn't working on this project. He said, when we get them on the ground and they're safely sedated, they're amazingly dry. This was a really cool detail. And I don't know when this episode is coming out, but it kind of reminded me of this episode we just recorded about experimental archaeology. So apparently Inuit people have been using patches of polar bear fur for their homes. They'll actually stick them to the bottom of stools to keep them from sticking to ice. And so these oils might be part of why that works. And they might also help us get to new ice repellents. So I just thought that was super interesting.
That is really interesting. And I do believe that this episode is coming out the week after our experimental archaeology episode comes
Awesome.
out.
So this is like a little bit of a follow-up, because one of the things that came up in that episode is the inventiveness of people who are living in northern Alaska, like when dealing with these extreme climates and all the technologies that they had to come up with. And this just like reminded me of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Wow. Well, thank you, Emily, for writing in, because I now just learned a cool factoid. And I hope you feel vindicated. The holidays are right around the corner, but it's not too late to still get some amazing, unique gifts for your loved ones. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful, with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the US. Many are crafted by independent artists and small businesses, and because they're made in small batches, the best finds can sell out fast. So one gift that Uncommon Goods has that really stood out to me was a weighted relaxation hoodie. I feel like talking about that makes me want to take a nap. So, this is for the cozy family member or friend in your life. Uncommon Goods really has something for everyone, from moms and dads to kids and teens, from book lovers, history buffs, and die-hard football fans to foodies, mixologists, and avid gardeners. You're always going to find thousands of new gift ideas that you're not going to find anywhere else. When you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. Many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches, so shop now before they sell out. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. So don't wait. Make this holiday the year you give something truly unforgettable. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/tinymatters. That's uncommongoods.com/tinymatters for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Okay, so my tiny show and tell us for this episode is from listener Lee. Lee wrote in saying, When we think of insects communicating, we probably all think of the things we humans can hear, like crickets and cicadas. But an estimated 93% of insects actually use vibrational communication. There is a whole world of vibrational sound occurring on plants and across the ground that we have no idea is happening. And it sounds absolutely wild, in all caps. Because insects aren't constrained by their body size and the vibrational sounds they can produce, the vibrational signals can sound like they belong to massive animals. Plus, vibrations travel through and across substrates, so a tiny insect can have its signals received by other insects several meters away. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then Lee adds, my thesis is about this, so I know far too much about bug vibrations, LOL.
Lee, you know the exact right amount.
Yeah, you can never know too much about bug vibrations. So, Deboki, you did the research for this, and you found a fun article from NPR, and in it, they talk about a few different things. One of the things they talk about are tree hoppers, which are insects that live on leaf stems. And so scientists will actually listen kind of in quotes, to vibrations of tree hoppers by pressing a phonograph needle to the leaf stem and then hooking up an amplifier to headphones to listen in. And it's cool. These tree hoppers will produce vibrations in their abdomen using muscles in the abdomen, but also the thorax. And the article I looked at, it says like they shake their abdomen. And I kind of just like that visual.
Yeah.
And so these vibrations will travel through the leg to the leaf stem. And then the tree hoppers on the same plant can hear them using vibration sensors on their legs. And you might be wondering, why vibrate? Well, in some cases, the goal is to attract female tree hoppers, but also they can be trying to warn other tree hoppers of predators, right? It's good for the survival of the species. And also, you found that tree hoppers will use vibrations sometimes to coordinate the group for things like migration or even getting food.
Yeah.
And then, so in this article, they also talk about crickets. And I know that crickets, Lee, you mentioned crickets at the beginning of your Tiny Show and Tell story. So I want to just talk about crickets for a sec. So they, on the other hand, will produce vibrations that we can hear. What they'll do is they'll rub one wing, and these wings have these little teeth on them, against the vein of the other wing, and that will create vibrations. And while the vibrations that they make all kind of sound the same to us, they're actually different from species to species, which, you know, makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you're a species of cricket, you probably want to be hearing from crickets of your species, or I'm sure there's like some aspect where they can discern between them. And this variation is really based on how quickly they're rubbing their legs together. And Deboki, you found another article showing that scientists have seen that females are really good at picking out sounds from their own species. I feel like this has been a theme in other episodes that we've done as well. This like hidden world,
right?
That it's everywhere, right? It's on land, it's in the air. It's whether it's like sounds in space or sounds in the ocean or things that are happening on land. Like, we're so unaware. And I think we brought in, I think, Ed Yong's book as context for this. This often hidden animal world is just so incredible. I mean, we're talking right now about sounds, but there's also what we can see and what other animals can see. I mean, it would be so overwhelming if we could pick up on everything. I think we would just short circuit.
I was thinking about how, like, when you were talking about these insects hearing vibrations, hearing isn't quite the right word for it.
Right.
But it's also like the closest we get to understanding it. The only other word is like sensing, but that's not specific enough either. But it's just because they're working in like this completely different plane of communication.
Yeah. There's some other term for it that we don't know that doesn't exist.
It's so cool. We've mentioned the book An Immense World by Ed Yong. So if you guys want to learn more about other ways that animals are sensing the world, that's kind of the book, I think.
And the number of species covered is just, I enjoyed it, but I also found it somewhat overwhelming because it was just so much information.
Well, thank you, Emily and Lee, for submitting to Tiny Show and Tell Us, a bonus series from Tiny Matters, created by the American Chemical Society and produced by Multitude.
As always, you can send us an email to be featured in a future Tiny Show and Tell Us episode at tinymatters@acs.org, or you can fill out the form that's linked in the episode description. We'll see you next time.